Hey guys, GothamGeekGirl here, and it's time for another review. We're going to talk about Love Hurts, the upcoming action-adventure comedy starring Huy Quan. It's silly, it's brutally violent, and downright outrageous, with a severely unsubstantial plot. While it features some badass orchestrated kills, a notable lead by the lovely Huy Quan, and outrageous characters, it's essentially unoriginal. It comes off as a bit of a spoof and a poor imitation of Malar World-esque comic book tropes and bullet train like ensemble assassin flicks. It definitely didn't do it for me. It was fun. I'll get into what worked in a little bit, but overall it's outrageous. But not outrageous enough or eccentric enough to be nonsensical. It just kind of comes off really goofy. So the film is distributed by Universal Pictures and it's directed by Jonathan Eusebio and his directorial debut. And it releases on February 7th. It's a fun little flick, maybe watch on Valentine's Day is a fun date, but love hurts and this movie hurts. It stars Ki Kwan, Ariana DeBose, Daniel Wu, Mustafa Shakir, Marshawn Lynch, Leo Tipton, Reese Darby, Andre Erickson, and Sean Astin. It's written by Matthew Murray, Josh Stoddard, and Luke Passmore. So first, I just want to say it's not entirely terrible. It's fun. It's a fun time. There's actually some fun, like memorable sporadic moments that are super violent and some funny comedic moments. They kind of sort of land some of the comedy sometimes. The film tells the story of a former hitman who turns into a realtor and he's pulled back into the life that he left behind after his former partner in crime resurfaces with an ominous message. With his crime lord brother, who's also on his trail, he must confront his past and the history that he never fully buried because he buried a lot of bodies. And Gyu Khan stars as Marvin Gamble. We love him. He's the super fun actor from Everything Everywhere All at Once, and he's made a great comeback. And I really wanted this movie to work. So he plays as Marvin Gamble. He's a successful realtor and the film's lead. And we're first introduced to him as like a happy-go-lucky, nothing can ruin my day, ordinary guy. On Valentine's Day, his past comes back to haunt him when he receives a crimson envelope from Rose. This is Ariana DeBose, and she's a former partner in crime whom he was, supposedly left for dead. So this reveals that the character is still alive. Ariana's character Rose, he was supposed to take care of her. So the fact that she's still alive, this trickles back to his ruthless crime lord brother, Knuckles, which is played by Daniel Wu. And Daniel Wu's character is on a revengeful quest for his money, and he has a hit on Rose. He wants her head because she got blamed for taking the money when she was an accountant. And now Marvin finds himself thrust back into this world of ruthless hitmen. There's double crosses. This turns his open houses into a deadly war zone. There's a pretty funny scene with like a couple looking at a house and shit just goes crazy. Ki Kwan, who I mentioned, he made a comeback. He's a child actor known for Indiana Jones and The Goonies, and he took a 19-year acting hiatus while working as a stunt choreographer and assistant director. So I found it really interesting that he did work in stunts because he is super believable. After his return to acting, we know he won Best Supporting Actor for one of my favorite films of 2022, Everything Everywhere All at Once. And he's proven himself to be a good lead. He's also starred in Loki. And I thought that he was great in this, and he's definitely deserving of a lead role. He definitely carried the film. He's absolutely believable, and he can convey every emotion, like at the snap of a finger. Like he was like such a happy guy in the beginning, and then when he just transformed back into his old persona, like who he really was. And I think he's a great actor. He can absolutely carry his own film. Unfortunately, the film is not well written. There's absolutely zero chemistry between him and Ariana DeBose. It's essentially non-existent, like zero chemistry. It's completely forced. It kind of just feels like they're reading a script. There's no sense of connection. And Ariana's a badass. I think she's great, but she just really didn't have much to work with in this film. And I don't know why, but I kept thinking of Cardi B whenever she was like yelling and doing crazy shit, like driving off and trying to like get him to snap back into his original killer self. And unfortunately, Ariana's had a few misses with all like Craven and sadly Argyle. And I actually really enjoyed Argyle. I think her character just wasn't really well written. It was kind of somewhat flat. but it's more the way these characters were written and not really fully developed. It's more how they were presented. So, as I mentioned, the characters are somewhat eccentric, like a wannabe ragtime group of assassins. I don't think they really, you know, delivered on that. They're not original enough. They're not zany enough. A lot of them felt like bites of other characters. For me, the best character was Raven, played by Mustafa Shakir, who's known for Bushmaster in Marvel's Luke Cage. I recognized him right away. I really liked his character. He uses like knives and swords and like lethal feathers, which was kind of cute and poetic. And he had a familiar feel of Sophie Boutella. Once again, I mentioned she was Gazelle in Kingsman and or like Baraka Mortal Kombat. And his poetry soft side was like a nice touch that added a bit of like a comedic beat to the film and his funny blooming relationship with Leo Tipton's character. So I thought that was kind of a cute, fun comedic balance to the film. And he was just a badass to watch. We also see fellow Goonie star Sean Astin, who plays Marvin's boss. So Marvin appears to call Sean Astin his boss, but like his brother. And he has better relationships with his new identity, and like his real estate family has really embraced him, and he's closer to them than his own blood. And Sean seems like a really lovable guy. His character, he really took Marvin under his wing and kind of shaped his real estate career. He helped him turn his life around without even knowing about Marv's killer past. They just really seemed to get along. Aston's character sadly has a very unfortunate, unforeseen death. And Aston, I felt like though he kind of just served as more of like a cameo, like a familiar face, a presence to just be happy to see in the film. But overall, Love Hurts displays a very weird, convoluted plot without adding any context to the significance of Valentine's Day. Still don't understand the point of it being Valentine's Day, aside from the fact that these characters lives being established that they want to find love being their true selves with the different relationships going on. There's also not much storyline or backstory to the lead characters aside from the brothers playing baseball. That's all we really know. We don't know what happened to their parents or why they went into this life. Was Rose the only reason Marvin wanted to change his life around, or did he actually feel any remorse for his victims? They never really dug into any of that. What happened with him and his brother, aside from him feeling betrayed that he didn't kill Rose. I mentioned it comes off as a spoof on comic book action flicks or like ensemble assassin action flicks. It's definitely not delivering a product nearly as good as Kick-Ass in no way, shape, or form, not in story, not in action. Nothing significantly memorable, as good as Kick-Ass or Kingsman, or it's not as fun or smart as Smoking Aces or violent or badass as Boy Kills World or Bullet Train. The only redeeming qualities are essentially the action scenes. The action sequences are pretty good, and Key's performance, like I said, he's lovable, he's badass, and his performance is still very notable. I still think he's a great film lead. The most fun parts of the film were the action sequences and the bizarre fights. The choreography wasn't exactly original, but it was still super entertaining enough. There are some moments where you're going to be like super excited. And surprisingly, it's produced by the same studio as Bullet Train 87 North. So they're the production company behind hits like Nobody, as I mentioned, Bullet Train, Fall Guy. I don't know. I feel like I expect a little more. But there's some standout scenes like Mustafa Shakir's Raven. He has knives in his boots and he's like slicing up in the kitchen like Baraka Mortal Kombat. That was one of my favorite scenes. And there's also a climatic scene where Rose and Marv like they put an end to Knuckles' henchmen. There's a big like blowout fight scene, and Knuckles and Marv are going literally head to head. Knuckles is wearing Sean Astin's character's hat, so that really sets me off. And Barry White is playing. I noticed Barry White because I guess adding the romance element. Overall, it's fun. Turn your brain off, like literally background noise, but I would not necessarily pay for this. It's also a really, really short runtime. It's only an hour and 23 minutes, which wasn't a bad thing in this case. So Love Hurts is in theaters February 7th. Check it out. Maybe don't. Maybe fun date night. Don't really pay attention, but check it out. Let me know your thoughts in the comments.